On behalf of FICCI Cascade, I welcome you all to this webinar on combating counterfeiting and smuggling during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. This is our first webinar in the series of state-specific webinars FICCI Cascade plans to undertake over the next few months. And we are indeed delighted to have our esteemed and distinguished panelists who have joined us today. In order to begin the proceedings of the day, I will request Mr. Anil Rajput, Chairman FICCI Cascade, to please make his welcome address.
Good afternoon to all the distinguished panelists and the participants. It gives me great privilege to welcome Shri D.P. Dash, Chairman, Enforcement Committee, World Customs Organization, former Principal Director General, DRI, and think tank member, FICCI Cascade. Shri Manish Sinha, Inspector General Crime, Jammu and Kashmir Police. Shri Mehrajuddin Rathar, Additional Secretary, Department of Food Supplies and Consumer Affairs, Government of Jammu and Kashmir. Shri Irfan Ahmed, Member FICCI and MD, IA, Multi-Venture, distinguished participants and friends. Good afternoon. We are all aware of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think for the last few months, we've been regularly discussing about the whole impact of this on the different walks of life. Everything from the economy to the society have been affected in an unprecedented manner. The reset button due to disruption in the innumerable supply chains has been pressed, and increasingly nations are looking inwards for the fulfillment of their economic needs and requirements. It is quite evident now that globalization has taken a backseat for many months and perhaps years that lies ahead of us. While COVID-19 is a relatively new development, illicit trade has been around for decades, and its negative impact on economies and societies across the globe has been a cause of serious concern. Illicit trade deprives the government of its rightful revenue. It completely demoralizes the morale of the law-abiding product manufacturers and exposes the citizens of host of dangers, as the sole purpose of all those involved in this activity is to make profits, and they are bereft of even an iota of morality. Illicit trade is the world's largest growing industry, with an estimated size ranging between 650 million to 3 trillion, according to multiple studies. It represents 10% of the global trade. In all this, the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are particularly vulnerable. The reason I say this is because they share boundaries with hostile nations, both of which can go to any extent to damage our country. These countries are known to deploy unconventional tactics, which include smuggling and counterfeiting, to create difficult and unsettling situations in our states. It is also a fact that these activities strengthen the terror organizations world over, and Jammu and Kashmir is no exception. The perpetrators of illicit trade are always looking at new ways to fool the people and damage the society. In fact, recently in Jammu and Kashmir itself, taking advantage of COVID-19 pandemic, fake manufacturing of sanitizer was thought to be a great opportunity. However, an alert drug control department of the state busted this entire operation. In addition, this year, itself, the alert authorities in the state have uncovered and arrested people engaged in illicit trade of liquor, cigarettes, currency, and much more. However, we cannot afford to lower our guards. And therefore, it is extremely important that our enforcement agencies keep up their already impressive work and ensure that such mischievous elements are kept at bay. Recently, our Honorable Prime Minister gave the clarion call of vocal for local. This reflects his far-sightedness and bears the hallmark of a visionary. As we develop this concept, there will be a gradual reduction in the footprints of foreign products in the country. And eventually, the dependence on foreign products will also begin to wane. This will naturally send a clear signal to all those engaged in illicit trade that even if such products make their way into the country, the profits earned from them will be far less as compared to today. And this would eventually demotivate them. Here we have to be clear that it is not possible that overnight there will be no interdependence on economic activities from other countries. And when I said gradual reduction of foreign imprints in products, it was in the context that we need to increasingly produce in India, persevere to create strong world-class domestic brand, ensure that the items produced remain within the legal framework, and all this will result in a win-win situation for the country. I'm delighted that we have a galaxy of people at the panel today who are part of this webinar. Their understanding of this subject is second to none. And I'm sure that their views and suggestions will go a long way in providing practical solutions to counter the impact of illicit trade in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, especially when the situation has been compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. I look forward to the ideas and views of all the panelists and the participants. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to talk to you. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Mr. D.P. Dash, former Principal Director General DRI and former Chairman of the Enforcement Committee of World Customs Organization and think tank member of FICCI Cascade, to please make his opening remarks and chair the session, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on combating counterfeiting and smuggling during COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Thank you, Mr. Rajput, for your opening remarks and setting the tone for the webinar so nicely, explaining the objective of this particular webinar. As you all know, COVID-19 is currently in a very dangerous phase in India. Probably the only thing positive now is to hear it is negative. Globally, more than 1 crore people have tested positive with more than 5 lakh deaths, and India is at the 4th position and quite soon might cross that and go to the 2nd position. And already there have been 6 lakh positive cases and about 17,000 fatalities in India. The graph is still growing upwards, and there are reports that the peak is yet to come. Till an effective vaccine or medicine is found for mass use, we have to manage to live with it, take all precautions and accept life as new normal, what they call. There are many factors, as you all know, that facilitate counterfeiting and smuggling. Mr. Rajput has given an estimate and how counterfeiting alone is in the range of trillions, which is a huge number. And you can imagine the context and the importance of this particular amount for the world, not to speak of India alone. As COVID-19 is going to stay for a longer period than we all expected, with 1.3 billion population in India, the demand for medicines, medical equipment, PPEs, masks, sanitizer, gloves, etc. will go up exponentially. Some of the new medicines like remdesivir, dexamethasone have been introduced in India for corona care. As you all know, anxiety of another lockdown or shortage of leads to a habit for hoarding essential items, including medicines, medical equipment, including some of the items which we never had heard of, like oxygen concentrators, ventilators, oximeter, thermometers. All of them people have started buying and keeping in their own house. Just to imagine, because there could be a scenario where there is no bed, no hospital. And some of the patients who are diabetic or suffer from comorbidities, they also start storing medicines, their BP or sugar, including the strips and the instruments. They need to buy, keep it at home, which earlier they used to go to the hospital for a periodic checkup. This anxiety has led to a lot of purchase of these equipments, hoarding, both essential and non-essential. The price difference of products basically is something both in India and abroad that leads to smuggling and sale of counterfeit products. I'll give one example of the new remdesivir. This, the other day, Indian government has allowed its use in India, and this cost something around 30,000 rupees for the entire course, which they say 5 to 6. The same medicine in US currently for the entire course costs something around 1.8 lakhs. As against 30,000 in India, 1.8 lakhs rupees for a cost of treatment is a huge difference and huge margin of profit. And this probably, if I won't be surprised, could lead to a different kind of illegal export or smuggling from India to the rest of the world. You must have heard yesterday, the president of US said they have already purchased and placed order for 3 months supply of remdesivir. So this is just an example to drive home the point that how the price difference of products in India and the rest of the world could trigger smuggling of item. It can be from India to rest of the country or vice versa, depending on the price margin. The poor purchasing capacity of majority of India, that leads to a demand for cheaper products, and quite often these are substandard and fake. Since a large number of purchases are online, the anonymity provided by the online platforms come handy in pushing such products as well. As you all have witnessed on TV, the large-scale migration of workers from main cities to the villages has led to an increase in demand for both essential and non-essential products, including for corona care in rural India. So the rural India market has really gone up. In the scary scenario currently that all of us are experiencing, there's a general vulnerability of people to easily believe in magic cures and in taking all kinds of immunity building medicines, resulting in sale of substandard and fake medicines. As treatments and ultimately a vaccine are developed, counterfeits of those products could lead both directly to further illness and death. Friends, COVID-19 crisis has heightened the dangers posed by the global trade in counterfeit pharmaceutical products. Serious health and safety issues arise when people order fake medicines online. Counterfeit medicines are often not properly formulated and may contain dangerous ingredients or no medicinal ingredients at all. During the Operation Pangia 13 by Interpol and World Customs Organization, counterfeit face masks, substandard hand sanitizers, and unauthorized antiviral medication were all seized by police, customs, and health regulatory authorities in 90 countries in collective action against the illicit online sale of medicine and medicinal products. This is just a tip of the iceberg regarding this new trend in counterfeiting in medical goods. In order to combat COVID-19, government has taken many measures. Government needs money to feed the poor and spend on the public health system. And because of the current border situations, money is required for the defense as well. Along with people the economy has also been in lockdown, in quarantine, and in containment zones. The imports and exports have come down, and domestic supplies of goods and supplies have also been reduced drastically. As a result, the government's tax revenue has been reduced drastically. In the first quarter, the GST revenue fell by 41%. Government therefore can't ill afford to any revenue loss due to smuggling and sale of smuggled, counterfeit, and illegal products. As far as smuggling is concerned, in May, Indian customs had seized illegal export of masks, sanitizers, PPE kits at Delhi courier terminals destined for China, US, UK, and UAE. Smuggling causes a huge dent on the economy, and as per the 2020 report of the Global Financial Integrity, Indian illicit funds transferred were to the tune of $83.5 billion in 2017 through trade-based money laundering. You can imagine the duty loss in this is quite significant. In such a situation, the call for vocal for local is very relevant, and FICCI Cascade has added another dimension to it: be vocal for local and legal. The Prime Minister has called for making India Atmanirbhar, self-reliant. Since there are enormous challenges in enforcing laws during this COVID situation, which Mr. Sinha is going to touch upon, the customers have to be self-vigilant. The counterfeiters may woo the customers with offers of heavy discounts, passing off as stock clearance, business revival, etc., and customers may believe such stories as genuine. It's therefore very important that the customers are sensitized about the telltale signs like heavy discounts, improper packaging, new sellers, that can help them identify the original from the counterfeit and make sure they are not taken for a ride. So the new mantra for India now, while the country has to be self-reliant, the consumer has to be self-vigilant. Today, the seminar will focus on industry issues in tackling the flow of illicit products, role of government and enforcement agencies to thwart criminals who are cashing in during the crisis, areas of concern in consumer safety and brand protection, need for being vocal for local to deter cross-border illicit trade. We have two distinguished speakers today, Mr. Manish Sinha, IG Crime, J&K Police, who has also served in the CBI earlier and handled investigations of some complex cases like Vapam case. He has received a Police Medal for Meritorious Service in 2012. The other distinguished speaker is Mr. Mehrajuddin Rathar. He is the Additional Secretary, Department of Food, Civil Supplies and Consumer Affairs, Government of Jammu and Kashmir. He has years of experience in different portfolios of the state government, including as Deputy Commissioner, Sales Tax. He is very familiar with the issues we are going to discuss today. Those who would like to ask any questions are requested to use their chat boxes and send the questions, which we'll take up together at the end of the presentations by the two speakers. The questions addressed to individual speakers or in general, the choice is theirs. The individual mics will be centrally will be muted. When the floor will be finally thrown open for any questions or interventions, you can unmute your mic and the video. I now request Mr. Sinha to address this. Over to you, Mr. Sinha.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to the session's chair, Shri D.P. Das, former Principal DGDRI, Shri Anil Rajput, Chairman FICCI Cascade, my fellow panelist and colleague, Dr. Mehrajuddin Rathar, Additional Secretary of Department of Food and Civil Supplies, Mr. Irfan Ahmed, Member FICCI, and all the distinguished panelists, guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I will start I've made a small presentation so that I can keep focus on it. And let me begin by quoting from Norman Cousins, erudite political author, who said that optimism doesn't wait on facts, it deals with prospects. Now, why I say this is because the facts that I am going to reveal are not very encouraging. As far as the police perspective is concerned, the JKP perspective is concerned, and I will bring out why. Is my screen shared with everyone? Is everyone able to see that?
Yes, yes, we are able to see it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I begin with the statistics, the IP-related cases which we have registered, and I have deliberately chosen 3 years of 2020, both the lockdown period and before the lockdown. 2019, which was rather a very disturbed year for J&K for many reasons which are well known to everyone, including the disruption that happened post-August 5. And a year before that, that is 2018. And when we see the figures as far as the police action in IP-related cases are concerned, and there are only 3 acts, Trademark Act, Copyright Act, and GI Act, which makes police action in IP-related cases partially cognizable. We don't find the numbers to be heartening. It also is a revelation for me when I was preparing for this webinar that GI Act does not even find a mention in the core application software that we have of the crime and criminal tracking network system that we have in the state of J&K. So there is absolutely no registration that has happened in GI Act. And when I proceed further with my presentation, there are 9 patented, GI patented products of J&K. I hope that bell was not for me. I just started. The copyright, the Trademark Act cases, the 4 of them that were there in 2018 are all pertaining to cement, shoes, mobile spare parts, and clothing. And so is the case of 2020. So there has been, and all these are, none of them are suo moto police information cases. They have been cases which are based on information that has been provided by the IP property right holder. Sorry. Why is it that JKP lacks focus on IP? I primarily will attribute it to the security scenario in the state, as was brought out by Shri Dash and also by Mr. Rajput in his opening remarks. It is a peculiar state with hostile neighbors, and there is always this challenge of terrorism and terror operations. So as the figures would reveal to you, the anti-terror operations, be it lockdown, no lockdown, be it 2019 or 2018, you can see that the JKP's focus has not shifted from this at all. In fact, in 2020 itself, we have had a kill of more than 100 terrorists and only 19 civilians have been killed. You can also see the staggering number of AK-47s that keep getting recovered in the state. So arms is smuggling. I mean, if at all counterfeiting and smuggling is a topic for this webinar, the 2 focus areas, or rather 3 focus areas for counterfeit and smuggling of JK police is primarily drugs, which has become a scourge for the state in a big way, or duty in a big way. Arms is smuggling, and counterfeit currency. So then, as the second table indicates, in the NDPS cases also, we find that there has been a steady growth in the number of cases and the number of persons who have been arrested. The seizures that are being made, particularly of heroin, which is being pushed from across the border, and it has its own consequences, particularly for not only for the health of the state, but also relating to terror financing, etc. I had, when I was IG Jammu, I did a press conference where I had brought out to the fore, based on solid empirical evidence, the connection between terror finance and heroin smuggling in the state of J&K. The intoxicating capsules and intoxicating injections, etc., which are pumped into the state, which is not only done primarily with an objective of obviously all drug trafficking is with an intent to laundering of money and for making quick bucks. But there is also a concerted attempt to destroy the youth of the UT. So there is a very concerted attempt by our hostile neighbors to push in these drugs into the state. And that is where the focus of JKP has been. The counterfeiting of Indian currency notes, again, as we find, these keep happening in the state. A lot of counterfeit currency notes keep getting infiltrated into the state from across the border. And there has been, the graph is roughly static, hovering at around 10 cases per annum, which we have been doing over the years. The cases registered under Arms Act, these are cases which pertain only to arms smuggling. So why I'm bringing these facts out is that counterfeiting and smuggling of goods, of fake trademarked goods or copyrighted goods, copyrighted products, that does not remain a focus for JKP, but I am optimistic because of the reasons that I am coming to. Now, counterfeiting, what are the adverse impact in J&K? I found that 9 J&K products are GI patented. Primarily, 7 of the products are handicraft products, which are khatamband, walnut, kani shawl, etc. And 2 agricultural produce, Kashmiri saffron and basmati. Why I bring this out is that although there is no empirical study which has been conducted, I got in touch for preparing for this webinar with the Chamber of Commerce in Kashmir. And they said that no empirical study has been conducted by them with regard to what actually is the quantum of loss. I found on the net that the quantum of loss per annum of 2012 study suggests that the loss to IP rights holder is roughly around 72,000 crores. And the loss to to the public exchequer is roughly around 28,000 crores, which is a humongous loss. We do not have a clear study, solid study to suggest as to what is the loss to the genuine producers of these handicraft products and these agricultural produce in Kashmir, and what is exactly the loss to the J&K government. At least, no study which has been conducted by the Chamber of Commerce in this regard. But he gave me a sort of ballpoint figure and said that in 2013-14, the Kashmiri handicraft turnover for the state was roughly around 2,000 crore, which in 1920 has dropped to around 900 crore. Now, obviously, when I asked him the question as to whether he would attribute this entire drop to counterfeiting and trademark violations, etc., well, obviously, there has to be a bouquet of reasons for it. This cannot be the only reason, but it is very natural for one to assume that counterfeiting of handicraft products, although the competition from the machine-made product is also huge, but the counterfeiting of it also must be one of the significant reasons for this. And this has a profound impact on the security scenario of the state. There is obviously, if this loss goes unarrested and we are not able to check it, then the loss to the employment opportunities would be huge. We already find that the youth of Kashmir is no more attracted to acquiring these handicraft skills. At least, the graph is, since the last few decades, has been going southwards. And one of the reasons is obviously that it is not as lucrative. The amount of labor that you put in and the kind of monetary reward that you get out of that is not commensurate. We also find that there are approximately 2.5 lakh handicraft workers in Kashmir who are organized in this handicraft manufacture and handicraft production. But primarily, most of them are, 50% of them or more are women folk. And the skilled women are getting discouraged. So I don't know whether all of you read the news item about a week back that a lady was arrested for terror-related crimes in Kulgam. She belongs to a very good family, a Sheikh family. Her son is also an active terrorist. I don't know whether it is symptomatic, and I don't know whether there is a direct linkage between what my thesis is and what this fact suggests. But I would put my neck out on this and say that if this trend continues unarrested, and if the handicraft trade does not pick up and gain its preeminent status of yesteryears, then there will be a drifting away from this economic activity, which will adversely impact the security scenario in Kashmir. And there, the Chamber of Commerce and particularly FICCI can play a vital role by sensitizing other states also, and by organizing whenever there is a webinar in which the other states are focus areas of catching the fakes which are being sold in the name of Kashmiri handicrafts. There are a lot of studies across the globe which has been conducted, which brings out the linkages between counterfeiting and terror financing. These are primarily examples of the West. Most of the studies are of Western Europe and America. I'm not aware of any study like that which has been conducted in J&K. But again, I would venture to say that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So majority of the things that police does, I mean, if you are not proactive and if you do not approach the problem and you directly do not hit on the problem, then it does not exist for you. But that does not mean that that thing or that contraband activity, that illegal activity is not happening. So maybe these counterfeiting that is happening is having linkages with terror financing, although there are no cases, solid cases, solid FIRs which have been registered, through which I can substantiate my claim. Now, because only 10 minutes was given to me, I'm reaching my end. How can we bring the police focus, or how can we bring partly the police to focus on IP-related offenses? Well, the first thing is that somewhere the policy level intervention needs to be done. And that policy level intervention has to be at the highest level, which can happen. Obviously, I mean, there are a number of factors which will have to get grooved into this. One of the primary thing is the resource, and both I'm talking about the material resources, the finances, and the human resources. So it is going to be a graded and phased process. But I would. This webinar has also sort of, I mean, I'm very, very thankful to FICCI for having made me a panelist and given me this opportunity, because it has also sensitized me about the problems and has made me think as to what needs to be done and how I need to interact and interface with the Chamber of Commerce, Chambers of Commerce in J&K in order to bring some kind of police focus on this area. But I will bring the facts out first. There are no specialized anti-IP crime unit in JKP. Our training that we impart, both in-house training as well as the basic training when we recruit our officers, there is no training which is imparted with respect to investigation of cases under acts which are dealing with IP-related crimes. So obviously, I mean, if the exposure is not there, and if the officers are not suitably sensitized, and if the awareness of such a huge problem existing is not there, then I mean, it goes without saying that the commensurate action would not happen from the police side. The crime intelligence wing, first and foremost, I mean, again, because of the security situation of the state, the intelligence wing in J&K is primarily focused on counter-terror activities. Our primary focus is counter-terror, and whatever resources are spareable are then focused onto other area. But terror and terror-related activities and connected to it, the law and order activities and the law and order intelligence is where our entire resources are focused. So the IP related IP crimes, all the crimes pertaining to intellectual property, we do not get the intelligence, the requisite intelligence, and we need to have in our intelligence setup IP cell. So no, that primarily is the reason why there has been no independent IP related police action in the last few years, at least, the data of which I scrutinized. There is, again, I mean, at the topmost level, at the policy making level, the focus has been security and law and order, and obviously because of the very disturbed situation in the state, therefore not enough of energy and not enough of time has been devoted. But now I think with this, after this webinar, I would start taking some initiative in this direction and try bringing some kind of interaction between the chambers and the police in order to bring these areas into focus. And as Mr. Dash was pointing out, that the counterfeit in pharmaceuticals, particularly during the COVID times, what a serious health issue can be raised because of that. So we need to sensitize our police, and we need to go after them. I assure that that action will follow. The lack of incentives for police officers, which are the IP related crimes, is also there. I mean, most of the things, wherever we see the police taking proactive action is where they feel that they would be rewarded. All the terror-related, security-related measures that the police takes. I mean, if you go for an anti-terror operation and if you get a successful neutralization, or if you have a good catch, anti-terror catch, then obviously you will get a promotion or you will get a induction in police. If you do a law and order, you will be rewarded with a medal. If you do a NDPS case, you will get a commensurate monetary reward, etc. Which obviously the reward system is not there in IP-related crimes, and therefore we will have to incentivize our police officers so that they are attracted to and focus their energies on this also. Now, this is just a roadmap. I mean, some thoughts that I could jot down as to how the police focus can be brought on IPR offenses, and this primarily is focused to the medium term and long term rather than in the immediate. I mean, in the immediate, we can launch a drive. We have so many drives which the police keeps launching on a monthly basis. Drive against without helmet driving, drive against tinted glasses, so on. The problem will have to be sorted out at a rather institutional level. And what gives me a little bit of heart and a little bit of optimism, that is why I started with that Norman Cousin quote, is that crime branch of late, because of the focus that I had and because of my experience of CBI, when I came back to the state and I got posted into crime branch, I have now got it restructured. It was modeled on the old police working. Now I have got it structured, and I've got it is as recent as 23rd of June that the government order was passed, and thanks to the government and thanks to the LG, he was utterly convinced of this idea that there needs to be specialization within the crime wing. So I've got an economic offenses wing, a special crime wing, cyber crime center of excellence, and an anti-narcotic task force, and a headquarter wing which has been created within the crime branch. Now, why a headquarter wing? I have mentioned that also is because headquarter wing, I find, needs to focus on what I call the tip, the training, the intelligence, and the policy related matter. And because I'm speaking at a webinar of FICCIs, and because it is all related to intellectual property, so I thought that acronym TRIP from TRIPS can be a suitable acronym to detail as to how we can go about it. T for training, R for reward and resources, I for intelligence, and P for policy. So that would be my effort, the trip effort. I would take a trip and see whether something tangible can be achieved as far as institution building against IP offenses is concerned. The efforts that can be made, one is that I can think of having an anti-IP crime cell in the economic offenses wing, which can sensitize the officers, not only of the crime branch, but also of the zonal police, of the district SPs, the SDPOs, and the SHOs. They also will then be given training for IP-related crimes. As all of us are very aware, the nature of crime is becoming more and more sophisticated. The white-collar crime requires a lot of procedural rigor and a lot of understanding of the Evidence Act in order that it is successfully prosecutable. So the training for IP-related crimes can be started in my economic offenses wing. And the intelligence wing cell that I'm creating in the headquarter wing, as I said, the TIP, there is a SP TIP who is going to look after training, intelligence, and policy. I would task him to gather intelligence on IP-related offenses as well, so that we have intelligence getting generated. He can also, through other means of which are well known to the intelligence community, of generating intelligence, interact with the human sources and generate some human on the subject apart from tech end. For FICCI, and because I'm talking to a very august house, with people who are at the policy making level, or at least are interacting on a very in a very intimate way with the policy makers, the interventions that the FICCI can make, I just wanted to highlight a few points. Number one is that can FICCI at the level of the government, at the level of the GOI, and the FICCI chapter at the level of the UT of J&K, FICCI chapter in J&K, take it up that we have a reward system on the lines of like we have in the Customs Department, or we have in the Narcotics Control Bureau, etc., for IP-related offenses. I mean, if we make huge catches, can a certain percentage of it be given as reward to officers who were involved in generating intelligence and then acting thereafter? Then what about making IPR-related acts fully cognizable? I mean, one of the things that I have found, which majority of the cases which are non-cognizable, and cognizable is a very Indian thing to do, but I found that these IPR-related acts are not fully cognizable. I mean, and wherever it is non-cognizable, the police tends to lose interest. I mean, they are not entirely interested in it because it is a very complex web. Well, I understand that this is a very fraught issue, that there will be so many other, I mean, I myself can have counter arguments to it as to what are the advantages of not having it fully cognizable. But if it is made fully cognizable, and the rank, as we see that the lowering of investigative ranks at the moment, except for the Copyrights Act, the Trademarks Act and GI Act, etc., that I see, I find that the investigative rank is DSP. Now, we hardly have DSPs in our system, and they are overworked, they are overstretched. So if every crime is to be investigated by a DSP, let me tell you that no crime is then investigated by them. I mean, obviously they will have to delegate. At best, they can have a supervisory oversight over it. So is it really necessary to have it at the level of DSP? There are large, because obviously of the process of recruitment that we have in the police, we have 3 levels of entry: at the constable, at the sub-inspector, and the DSP level. The sub-inspectors tend to get promoted. They get promoted as inspectors, they get recruited in larger numbers. So it will be more appropriate that trained inspectors, I mean, we can have it that somebody who has gone a 6 months anti-IP crime course or investigation course, they are the investigative rank, rather than having it at the level of DSP, because you have so few, they are so few in number that it would not be possible to do so many cases. I mean, in almost every act we are finding nowadays, whether it be IT Act or so many other acts, that they are all investigated by DSP rank officers. funding for the capacity building of officers posted to anti-IPR crime cell. Now, FICCI obviously keeps interacting both with, I mean, FICCI is of industry and they also keep interacting with the academia. Can there be good courses conducted? Like, for example, in CBI, we would be having courses conducted by IIMs and by so many other institutions where the proper rigorous training can be given so that we have quality investigation, because I firmly believe that rather than dissipating our resources doing hundreds of cases which do not make any impact, it is better that we focus our resources and do 2 cases which are in the headlines and which actually dents or impacts the situation. And provisioning of hardware. I mean, at the level of the government, if the industry can fund this, the hardwares for at least the IP related cells that can be formed in the state or the UTs. Because we are woefully, I mean, police everywhere is not a priority area as far as finances and resources are concerned. In fact, most of our resources are towards payment of salary and towards our transportation and what we call POL. So we are still doing catch up. IT is moving ahead in leaps and bounds. There are quantum leaps which are happening. We are simply doing catch up. We do not have the resources to match with the kind of technology that are available and which are being used for perpetrating offenses, particularly by white-collar criminals. So will it be possible for FICCI to have these to do these interventions or have these intercessions, so to say, on behalf of the police? As far as the pandemic per se is concerned, as I said, I assure the gathering here that we will, in the immediate short term, launch a sensitization drive through video conferencing. I'll speak to my district SPs, DIGs and IGs and sensitize them and launch a drive. Let's see as to what is the impact that we can generate, particularly relating to products which are at least are being rumored to be getting sold in large numbers and which are counterfeits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for an excellent presentation. In fact, you have highlighted the priorities of JKP and the challenges that JKP is facing, especially the terrorism one. But in spite of all this, you have now reorganized the crime unit in JKP. And they say once a CBI, always CBI. Having worked myself in CBI for 6 years, I know how you would be feeling going back to JKP and seeing the state of affairs. But very rightly, you have set it up very professionally and with different kind of cells. I'm sure you would be able to achieve your trip very soon. And the LG is very, very dynamic person. He was the principal secretary in Gujarat. So he knows the entire police force functioning very well from close quarters. And if you go with a particular plan, I'm sure he would. And you have also raised a large number of questions to FICCI. And this, I think, we'll address when we come back to the QA, considering the time constraint that we have. So thank you very much for a very excellent presentation, very passionate, very confident, and the way you are driving home at all these aspects. I'm sure JKP is in the safe hands, and in days to come, we'll hear some good news of more cases of counterfeit, particularly its pandemic, where it's health now. It's no more the old just IP violation. It's much more than that because the life of the people is at stake. May I now request Mr. Mehrajuddin Rathore to deliver the keynote address, please? Over to you, Mr. Rathore.
So please unmute your mic, sir. Dr. Rathore, please unmute your mic. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Hello.
Yes, sir. You can start, please. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Manish Kishore Sinha, IPS, Inspector General Crime, Jammu and Kashmir Police. Mr. T.P. Dash, IRS Chairman, Enforcement Committee, World Customs Organization, and former Principal Director General, DRI, and think tank member, FICCI Cascade. Mr. Anil Rajput, Chairman, FICCI Cascade. Mr. Irfan Ahmed, member FICCI, and Managing Director, IA Multiventure. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. It is a matter of pride and pleasure for me to be over here amongst you this afternoon. I am happy to see that Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, through its dedicated committee, Cascade. It is a committee working against smuggling and counterfeit activities, destroying their economy. The FICCI, through this committee, is continuously focusing on curbing the problem of growing illicit trade in counterfeits and smuggled goods. I have been informed that the forum has been campaigning not only for the cause of the industry, but generating consumer awareness on this issue. Honorable guests, illegal trade in counterfeited and smuggled goods dampens the economy in multidimensional ways. It can cost any economy in billions and reduce the country's national reputation. It stabilizes industry, restrains innovation and investments, reduces government revenues, and hampers the health and safety of the consumers. It is an enduring problem that escalates each day in scope and magnitude. And the impacts industries, consumers, governments, and economies. Smuggling and counterfeiting can have broad economy-wide effects on trade, foreign investment, employment, innovation, and most importantly, on the health of the consumers. There is an organization by the name of OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that works to build better policies for better lives. And as per the report of this organization, the trade in counterfeit and pirated goods has risen steadily in the last few years. And presently it stands at 3.3% of the global trade. Such is the impact. For developing countries, just like ours, widespread smuggling badly affects the domestic resource mobilization by denying tax revenues. It subsequently affects government spending on healthcare, education, infrastructure, etc. Not only does illicit trade dent government exchequer, it also threatens local industries on which depends the livelihood of the many people. It is important to note that when smuggling takes place, the manufacturing activity that should have ideally happened in that country shifts abroad, causes job losses in that country where smuggled goods are consumed. As per a recent report from FICCI Cascade, they have submitted a report, and as per that, it is estimated that 16 lakh jobs were lost in 2017-18 due to smuggling of goods in various industrial sectors. Friends, as you are aware that we are facing unprecedented situation due to COVID-19 pandemic. And it calls for greater focus on addressing the growing hazards of counterfeiting, smuggling, severe impact on the economy and enraging lives of the consumers. While the government is continuously intensifying efforts to combat the spread of the coronavirus by enacting various measures to support public health systems, safeguard the economy, and ensure the safety of its citizens, illegal operators are taking advantage and leaving no stone unturned during this pandemic by providing aid or use of essential and non-essential items. So, arresting of sale of illicit goods at the time of this unprecedented situation, it needs our immediate and unwavering support. Moreover, as businesses suffer during this crisis, any sale of illicit products will only worsen the socio-economic distress. While arresting this menace is vital, encouraging the use of indigenous goods will also play a defining role to eliminate this socio-economic threat. This will in turn promote brand India, benefit our economy, reduce the demand on the imported goods, create jobs, and deter cross-border illicit trade. Even Honorable Prime Minister, his clear call for being vocal for the local and for an Atma Nirbhar Bharat. It is faith and support to the local manufacturers, local entrepreneurs. Enforcement of law to safeguard local brands and genuine manufacturers against illicit trade and counterfeiting of their products is imperative. This will help Indian manufacturers, this will help our local manufacturers and protect the rights of indigenously produced goods. Illicit trade can be controlled if some of the following measures they'll be undertaken. Number one, using of latest technology to aid security forces and enforcement agencies. Number two, raising the penalties for those committing this crime so that they won't do it. Third, allocating more financial and human resources to counter this activity. And fourth, lastly, by running consumer awareness campaigns among the masses. Developing a proactive strategy to curb counterfeiting and enhancing the level of consumer awareness to fight back the growing threat is need of the hour. Today's this program, it is of great contemporary importance for the well-being of our people in the current crisis. Since protecting and promoting the welfare of the consumers has become one of the major concerns, and organizing awareness programs help to educate and sensitize the consumers, and this is of much necessity. The Government of India has taken several measures to combat counterfeiting, and spreading consumer awareness on illicit goods is a major part of it. our Department of Food, Civil Supplies and Consumer Affairs. It is committed to its consumer protection program to protect the rights of consumers in relation to goods purchased. Our department has a separate wing named Legal Metrology Department that looks after the interests of consumers. It enforces the Consumer Protection Act 1986 to ensure consumer safety and checking unfair and restricted trade practices. The department is creating consumer awareness programs among the common people about their rights. Under this act, every consumer has 6 rights. Number 1, right to safety against hazardous goods and services offered by the commercial establishments. Number 2, right to be informed about the details of the product, such as MRP, quality, date of manufacturing, date of expiry, and standard of the product the commercial establishment is offering. Third right of a consumer. Consumer has the right to choose a product or service among the variety of goods and services. Nobody can force him to purchase a product or avail a service of a particular kind. A right to be heard. The consumer suffers on behalf of the defect of the product or deficiency of the service offered to them. He has a right to be heard at the appropriate forum. Fifth right is the right to redress. Complaint of the consumer is to be redressed by the appropriate forum with replacement of the goods, repair of the defective goods, refund of the. And lastly, the 6th right of a consumer, it is about the awareness. It is the duty of the government to create awareness of the consumer rights and take appropriate measures to safeguard the interests of the consumers from unfair and restricted trade practices. Just to give you a glimpse what this legal metrology has done in the last year and during some of the, I have a statistical data. In the year 2019 and 20, this department has received 163 complaints from the consumers, out of which 152 were amicably settled by the parties. During the last a couple of months, the department received 80 complaints, out of which 79 complaints have been settled by the parties. So we are disseminating the awareness regarding the consumer rights among the masses. We are carrying the awareness programs even in the districts at the divisional level and looking after the interests of the consumers. Lastly, I wish FICCI Cascade, who have organized this webinar, a success in its future endeavors, in its future initiative. I would like to conclude my talk by extending thanks to all for having attended this program. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Rathur, for highlighting various initiatives and measures taken by the government of J&K, especially recognizing the rights of the consumers. I'm very impressed to hear the way you narrated the various rights of the consumers, how the government is committed to redress that, and especially out of 80 complaints that have been received, 79 have been disposed of successfully. That speaks very high of the commitment and the priority given by your department. In fact, we are very happy to hear about the commitment of the state government to address the issues, particularly in the current corona pandemic. our best wishes are always with you, the government of J&K. On behalf of FICCI Cascade, we certainly would be there to help you out in whichever way you would like us to do. Thank you very much. Now we come to the end of the two presentations. I had requested in the beginning that those who have any questions, any suggestions, or any interventions to kindly use the chat bar and send it to the FICCI Secretariat. I just checked up. Swati, have we got any questions?
Not yet, but you can ask some questions.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions, and probably I can take this opportunity.
Have a permission? I have to leave. Have a permission to ask one question from IG Saab?
Okay, okay. Please go
Because
ahead.
I have to attend one more webinar. That's why.
Please go ahead. Please introduce yourself and ask the question.
I'm Tariq Ghani from Kashmir. I'm Secretary General Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Kashmir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ghani.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Saurabh.
Yeah.
Please ask your question.
Yes, Mr. Ghani, you can please go ahead and ask your question. I think, sir, we've lost connectivity there.
But I think he's visible. Did you by mistake muted your thing? Can you unmute and try again, please? Are you there, Mr. Ghani?
So he's there, but he's gone on mute and suddenly not visible.
Okay, but what is the? You are able to see that?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can
Can
hear
you hear me?
Sir, he's back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one question I have is IG Saab that we are selling here Amritsari goods in the name of Kashmir Handicrafts, which has disastered the Kashmir handicrafts. No doubt we can sell Kashmir, these Amritsari handicrafts, but in the name, not in the name of Kashmir, in the name of Amritsar. Number one. Number two, I have a question that in this pandemic, COVID, the jungles have been looted by smugglers, and that's the great loss to J&K UT. Please, IG Saab, I want to bring into your notes.
Thank you for bringing it to our notice, Mr. Ghani. But as the nature of law is, all of us are aware. Have you approached any enforcement agency with a complaint in this regard? Any specific complaint and any specific complainant? Can you give me the reference?
We have sent both the representations to your office CBI here 2 months back regarding smuggling and regarding that shawls to be labeled to be made in Kashmir and made in Amritsar. Anybody can sell anything, but it must be labeled Kashmiri shawl made in Kashmir and Amritsari as made in Amritsar.
Absolutely. But you said CBI. Why have you said? Just a moment, Mr. Ghani. You said CBI. Why have you sent the complaint to CBI? Why not to the local police or to the crime branch?
We have already sent complaint to this Ramunshi Bagh police station also regarding that shawls before this pandemic.
Then I will look into it.
And I have also registered a complaint regarding these forests.
I will certainly look into it. I assure you that I will look into it. If you have sent this complaint to
Thank you so much. I'll be highly obliged.
Please give me the. You can contact my office, IG Crimes office, and give the details of it. If you can send me a complaint, it would be even better.
Sure, sir.
A copy of the complaint, sir.
Thank you so much. Highly obliged, sir. Thank you so much. I'm honored, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ghani, for your intervention. And any other question?
I would like to answer this question also.
Okay.
Please, sir, please, sir.
Sir, this is an unfair. This is an unfair trade practice. Unfair trade practice in the sense that they are using a different. They are selling the Kashmiri shawl in the name of the Amritsar shawl. For this, we are having this legal metrology department. You go over there, you contact them. they will take care of it.
Can you hear me,
They are
sir?
then,
Yes, sir.
there is a department.
Please.
There is a department by the name of Legal Metrology Department. We do
Yes.
have the
Yes.
controllers over there, then inspectors over there. They are in the market. जो मैंने आपको अभी बोला था कि इतने सारे केसेस हमने ये ना 163 केसेस जो कंप्लेंट्स हमारे पास आए थे, they have been amicably settled. You just move with a complaint to this department. They are looking after it. वो भी आपको इसमें हेल्प करेंगे. पुलिस में आप जाइए, that is good. आप पुलिस में जाइए, that is good. लेकिन साथ ही साथ आप लीगल मेट्रोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट में भी एक कंप्लेंट डालिए. They will call you and they will see to it कि किसी भी कंज्यूमर को, किसी भी कस्टमर को कोई धोखा ना हो जाए.
Thank you so much. By day or two, I'll send you the letter in metrology department, sir.
Definitely, you can call me even on this number. I'll give you the number of the deputy director, deputy controller, and even the controller of the legal metrology department. वो इस केस को दिनों में हल करेंगे.
बहुत मेहरबानी, sir. It's need of the hour, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, Mr. Ratha. Mr. Ghani, I'm sure you are happy with the
I'm very
solution.
happy and thanks for FICCI.
And it's an instant, solution to your problem. And he's offering the telephone number and the
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm highly obliged by FICCI. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
मैं कुछ और इसमें ऐड करूं?
हाँ, प्लीज.
अनफेयर ट्रेड प्रैक्टिस जैसे ये हुआ कि 100 ग्राम्स का कोई चीज है, ये 80 ग्राम्स में बिकता है. दिस इज एन अनफेयर ट्रेड प्रैक्टिस. या एमआरपी, मैं इनके लिए कहता हूं, एमआरपी है, इसको ओवर चार्ज करेंगे. या कोई पुराना आइटम, उसको नए आइटम उसको कवर करेंगे, कुछ करेंगे तो नए आइटम के नाम से भेजेंगे. या ब्रांड नेम चेंज होगा, जैसे अभी ये कह रहे थे कि वो अमृतसरी शाल था तो अब कश्मीरी शाल के नाम से बिक रहे हैं. इसी तरह अगर डेफिशिएंसी में कोई कमी आ गई, फॉर एग्जांपल हमारी कोई वारंटी है, अब इंस्ट्रूमेंट खराब हो गया, हम जा रहे हैं वहां पे, तो वो वारंटी वो ठीक नहीं करवा रहा है, तो these are unfair trade practices. And number 2, there are restricted trade practices. जैसे स्कूल्स में होता है, स्कूल्स में ये होता है, वो कहते हैं कि ये यूनिफॉर्म आपको उस जगह लेनी है, या आपको ये आपके ये बुक्स है, इन बुक्स को उस बुक सेलर से लेने हैं, तो दैट वो भी रेस्ट्रिक्टेड ट्रेड प्रैक्टिसेस में है. इन सब, या फॉर एग्जांपल हम कहीं जा रहे हैं गैस लेने के लिए, वो कह रहे हैं कि चलो गैस ले जाओ आप कनेक्शन, लेकिन आपको साथ में ये गैस स्टोव भी लेना है. तो अगर कोई ऐसी चीजें होंगी, you can call, you can contact this legal metrology department. They are all help. They will come out to help you in all these things.
So thank you very much for that explanation, Mr. Ghani. I think you can circulate this among your members, so that in future, if you have any such issues and all, I mean, you have instant solution. Mr. Rathar is all willing to solve your problems. So that will be really great.
So grateful, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick comment.
Sorry?
I have a question, sir. Hello?
Yeah, who's this? Can you?
Myself Lalit Mahajan. I am Chairman, Federation of Industry, Jammu.
Okay, please.
Sir, I have a question from CAPD department. This Bureau of Indian Standard, they are under the CAPD department, Government of India, but there to check the spurious product, they have a very limited access in Jammu and Kashmir. Number of spurious product they are selling openly. You can take in electronics also. You can see the quality of the local cement which is manufacturing. They say it is a ISI mark, BIS mark product, but sampling is very low. They have no doubt they have an office in Jammu, badi phenomena, but their activity is very limited, resulting consumer is suffering, sir, very badly. Sir, secondly, you know what, government do not have any control on the underbilling. No doubt now after the imposition of the GST, what happened, and the removal of toll tax. Previously there was a safeguard of Lakhanpur check post, every consignment checked there, but now after the removal of toll tax, there is no one is checking what product is coming. Smuggling is going on. that there is no check because there is no barrier there. So people, they are suffering very badly. And third, sir, one thing is there, when we are moving towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, okay, but instances are there ki on one side our honorable Prime Minister, they say vocal for local, and then we should cut the import from outside countries, especially from China. From China, number of, as per the previous practice, number of items we are getting which are under billing, and our manufacturer, they were not able to compete with them because there is a vision of this custom duty was also there, sir. And second thing, sir, when we are shifting to local domestic products, government should ensure there should be no cartelization, because at present what we are feeling, in number of cases, few manufacturers every month they sit together and fix their price. Government do not have any control on the price. So my submission is this: ki the mechanism should be there to resolve these type of issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much for very valuable suggestions. We'll address this. I'm sure you are not going to attend any other webinar. You are here till the end of it. Can you hear me, please? Mr. Rathor, would you like to respond to this particular issue of cartelization and undervaluation? Mr. Rathor, can you hear me? I think you have muted your thing. Can you please unmute, please? Mr. Rathor? Swati, can you please unmute Mr. Rathor, please?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, can you please respond to the question regarding cartelization by a few manufacturers in J&K?
It was his question. Hello?
Yes, it was his question.
Yes. I'll look into it. I'm not having present some of the information about it, but I'll look into it, and if I'll be having his number, I'll contact him and I'll let him know.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Can I make a quick comment? This is Sumit.
Sorry?
Hi, this is Sumit. Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, Mr. Sumit, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So my name is Sumit Kapoor, and I'm working with Amazon with brands on various brand-related issues. But my comment is not with regard to Amazon, and I'm speaking in my personal capacity right now. And my comment is to Mr. Sinha for the great presentation that he did on the reforms that he's trying to make in J&K Police. So previous to my Amazon role, I was working with Cell for IPR Promotion and Management, and Mr. Dash, you must be aware of CPAM. We have been in touch with you earlier. And CPAM is a body under DPIIT Ministry of
yeah,
Commerce.
That's fine. So can you please come to the question directly, considering the time constraint we have?
Certainly. The comment I'm trying to make is it's heartening to see the great work J&K Police is doing in with regard to sensitization of police officials on IT-related issues. The point I'm trying to make is CPAM is also doing similar kind of stuff, and FICCI certainly is doing a lot of activities on those regards. So, Mr. Sinha, CPAM and the J&K Police might like to contact each other, and that would be a great help. That CPAM can also offer to J&K Police. What I can do is I can ask my colleague and my previous colleague in CPAM to get in touch with Mr. Sinha and tell them about the training and sensitization program that they have undertaken and the resources that they came up along with FICCI to sensitize police officials on IT-related crime.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Kapoor.
you so much, Sumit.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sumit. I will look forward to it. Please ask your man to contact us. We will reopen only on the 6th. So after that, anytime, please.
No, certainly. I think she was already in touch. She did a program. She did a sensitization program in J&K Police Academy, Sharia Academy Police Academy last month. I just spoke to her after your presentation, and she will certainly get me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any question? Well, I mean, let me ask and respond to some of the issues which Mr. Pandey had raised during his presentation. One pertain to rewards for the police on the lines of the customs. Now, let me tell you, in customs, we have a reward policy for the cases which are registered, but reward is ultimately given either to the informer or to the officers only after the disposal of the goods and the sale proceeds are received by the government of India. But Mr. Pandey, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, fine. I think someone is, can you please mute? Someone's voice is audible, so that's distraction. Mr. Pandey, I just was coming back to the point. So in customs, it's only after the sale proceeds are received by the government, a certain percentage of that is given as reward to the informer or to the customs officers. In case of counterfeit goods, which are destroyed, there are absolutely no sale proceeds. So because of that, the customs officers also do not get any reward from the counterfeit cases. But considering the police specialty, FICCI Cascade has written to the government of India to consider giving some kind of incentives to the police officers. So if government is positively responding to that, probably this can be given to all the police across India, not only to J&K. But I would request that you can reiterate this particular suggestion so that government is aware and engaged with this particular one.
Thank you, sir. Now I realize that you were referring to me, sir. You were referring as Mr. Pandey, so I was not getting it.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, Sina. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Sir.
sorry about that. So because there was another Manish Pandey, so I just got confused. Thank you so much. My apologies. You mentioned about the legal challenges, particularly in making as IP crimes as a cognizable offense. Now, this is something which FICCI also would centrally would like to examine this and take it up at the appropriate forum. But from your side also, as I mentioned, you must bring it to the notice of the current LG, and he being my batchmate, I can also make a request to him to send that to the government of India, probably so that centrally we can do something about this particular thing. It's a very valuable suggestion. Now, coming to the other aspect of training and the resources, one is of course CPIM, the other one is the FICCI Cascade. Both can extend training capacity building programs for the police, and more so since you have taken the baby step now in reorganizing. It's only week or 10 days ago, your special unit, certainly it merits consideration because it's a fresh unit with fresh idea, with a new commitment by the leader like you and those who are with your team. Certainly it will greatly help at this juncture when J&K and the rest of the world is combating this particular pandemic in a very serious manner. So certainly I would request Mr. Rajput to also respond to two other points which you had mentioned, requesting help from FICCI. Mr. Rajput, if you are there, and would you like to respond to that as well? So
Definitely, together we can take it forward.
So thank you. I think Mr. Sinha, in one word, Mr. Rajput believes in brevity is the soul of wit. So he said, together we can, and together we will. And certainly the rest of India, FICCI and all are there with you. And we will definitely make India Atmanirbhar in every sense, including the capacity building. It will be all in-house. If there are any other questions, the last, before the time, since it's running out, we are 22 minutes ahead of that.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, if you can read some of the messages are there. in the chat box. If you can read it for sir.
So there are a couple of statements and messages. We'll just probably take one or two. One is on the Kashmiri Pashmina, which is a registered GI, which has a unique RFID tag on every tested good. Those not having this tag may not be genuine, and that's how fakes and counterfeited can be detected. So that's a comment from Zaheda Mullah. We also have a comment from Sanaullah Khan, and he's part of the Unilever brand protection team, and he's requesting Mr. Sinha to respond that we have been facing a lot of administrative challenges in respect of enforcement of IP infringement, typically on trademark and copyright infringements. Now, since a dedicated wing and vertical like EOW and others are formed, can our impaneled agencies reach out to the officers of EOW for such cases?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is still a work in progress. It has not crystallized. The orders are just out. The postings have not been done. But once it is done and the institutions are in place, obviously, I mean, this will be our focus area. We will reach out and we.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dash, I think if you have any further questions or comments, otherwise we'll request for the concluding remarks now.
Yeah, I don't have any, and I would take that all of the questions have been answered. In case you have any, you can certainly later write email to FICCI Cascade, and we certainly like to respond to you to the best of our ability and take it with the concerned authorities for redressal of the grievance. I now request Mr. Irfan Ahmad, member FICCI and Managing Director of IA Multiventure, to give the word of thanks, please.
Honorable Chairman FICCI Cascade, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's my honor to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of FICCI, I'm thankful to all the speakers and participants for sharing your findings, opinions. God has created the world, but the crown of creation has made it not less than heaven. The challenges are from the age of humans. Either it may be SARS, Ebola, and now COVID-19. We are on the way to win this battle against COVID-19. But as a lot of people discuss, the black sheep are there and they will not let the world do the business the way people want. They have damaged the humans, they will continue to damage, they will continue to damage in future. I'm referring to the threat being dispersed through the counterfeit and smuggling of goods, either for sale at exorbitant prices or fake goods, proclaiming to cure or treat the virus. I'm just referring a Forbes report in 2018. Forbes announced that counterfeiting was the largest criminal enterprise in the world, and the sales of counterfeit and pirated goods totals around $1.7 trillion per year, which is big. And this was before we were hit by the COVID-19. And the current figures would be much higher than what it was reported in 2018. As all of us know that the demand for cleansing supplies, hand sanitizers, face masks, it has actually opened a window for the black marketers who were bad actors on the stage and exploiting the situation for their benefits. The lockdown pushed people to make all their purchases through e-commerce sites or unauthorized channels, and thus allowing counterfeits to prey on the vulnerability of the purchasers. Sellers have increasingly claimed that their face masks, sanitizers, cleansing agents have the capability to kill the virus, when these products are simply ordinary goods used for routine prevention of germs. In order to gain repute, they deceptively claim to be affiliated with the WHO. I would refer somebody in the group was actually from the Amazon in the past, maybe. The leading e-commerce platform Amazon, in an official release, reported that as of March 4th, 2020, they removed more than 1 million counterfeit products with bogus coronavirus claims and cures. And even more terrifying is that authorities have seized fake testing kits, sanitizers, and antiviral medications that could leave the user with a false sense of security and facilitate the spread of virus. In the recent one, the counterfeiters produced inferior quality of masks, marking them a 3M label on them and passing them off as genuine 3M masks. It's not only with the 3M, a lot of mask manufacturers actually who were the inferior ones, and they were taking a brand on it. In India, we don't have any specific laws related to piracy and counterfeiting of goods, which is cognizable offense. But this is not all, as we need to have stringent laws, as Mr. Sinha, IGP Crime, was talking about. We need to change something. We have to initiate it from the ground, and we have to have stringent laws against this so that all this is curbed. We can right now imagine the exhausting task of law enforcement agencies to seize and prosecute such counterfeiters. In addition, to maintain the peace and security in this time of crisis, we can do our part by doing our due diligence and purchasing products only by regulated sources, and by reporting any counterfeit product that we may come across. We can say that endeavors such as increasing consumer awareness, adopting counterfeit technologies, strengthening of the legal system, and investing in the research and development of the products can help us in combating the counterfeiting menace. I would also request and suggest for setting up a nodal governance agency in the UT of J&K, which can actually help coordinate national efforts and intelligence against illicit trade. As in the recently, we are giving very much emphasis on Make in India campaign, which actually is bringing an economic development and much anticipated growth. The initiative is actually promoting manufacturing authentic products, which is very important, because once we are coming with the Make in India, we should be promoting authentic products and in the country to promote our domestic economy. As all of us know that this is such a big industry, which is impacting actually the Indian economy. And by controlling and curbing all these this menace, either it be counterfeits or smuggling, any cases, this will certainly control counterfeits, smuggling, and we can emerge as a better and dominant economy. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Thank you, Mr. Dash. Thank you, Mr. Rathar. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Mr. Rajput, thank you so much. We also like to thank our advisors, Mr. P.C. Jha and Mr. Jeep Chand, for joining us. Arshad, thank you so much. He was coordinating from the FICCI Jammu and Kashmir office. Thank you for your support, Arshad.
Thank you so much, Swati. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening ahead. Thank you.